The message came at 3 in the morning. Captain Park Do-hyun was sleeping in his small room beneath the ground when the alarm pulled him awake. He had not slept well in years. The old dreams still found him. Dreams of fire and smoke in cities that no longer existed. He walked through the cold hallways of the bunker. Soldiers saluted as he passed. He did not notice them. His mind was already working, already asking questions. An emergency signal at this hour meant something had gone wrong. Something always went wrong. Lieutenant Kang Yuna met him at the door of the command center. She was young, maybe 30, with short black hair and eyes that never seemed to rest. She had been his second in command for 2 years. He trusted her more than he trusted himself. "You need to see this," she said. Her voice was strange. Not afraid. Something else. Something he could not name. The command center was full of screens and blinking lights. A dozen technicians worked at their stations. They all looked up when Do-hyun entered. They all had the same expression on their faces. Yuna led him to the main screen. Numbers and symbols filled the display. A signal. A transmission from somewhere very far away. "We picked it up 20 minutes ago," Yuna said. "It took us 15 minutes to decode it. The language was in our database. A language we were never supposed to use." Do-hyun stared at the screen. He understood now. He understood the look on their faces. "It's real," he said. "Not a question, it's real." For 60 years, the governments of Earth had kept the secret. Aliens existed. They had been watching humanity since before the First World War. They had studied humans like scientists study dangerous animals. They had built a wall around the solar system and told the rest of the galaxy to stay away. Earth was a death world. That was what they called it. A planet where everything wanted to kill everything else. A place of disease and disaster and endless violence. The aliens had decided that humans were too dangerous to let out. Too savage. Too broken. And now those same aliens were asking for help. Do-hyun read the message 3 times. The words were simple. A species called the Veth had come from somewhere beyond known space. They had attacked without warning. They had destroyed entire worlds in days. The Galactic Council, the great alliance that had watched Earth for so long, was falling apart. The message ended with coordinates. A meeting point. A request. Please come. We have no one else to ask. Do-hyun sat down in a chair. His legs did not feel strong enough to hold him. "Have you told anyone?" he asked. "Just you. And the president. She's on her way." President Cho Yoon-bi arrived within the hour. She was a small woman with gray hair and a face that showed every year of her difficult life. She had led Earth through the worst times. The resource wars. The famines. The long years of rebuilding. She had seen humanity at its worst, and she had not given up. She read the message in silence. Then she looked at Do-hyun. "What do you think?" Do-hyun thought about his daughter. So-min was 12 years old. She lived with her grandmother in a small apartment in Seoul. She liked to draw pictures of spaceships. She dreamed of the stars. "I think they left us alone when we needed help," he said. "I think they treated us like monsters. I think they have no right to ask us for anything." Yoon-bi nodded slowly. And I think we should go anyway." The United Earth Council met that afternoon. Representatives from every nation sat in the Great Chamber. They argued for hours. Some said humanity owed nothing to the species that had locked them away. Others said this was a chance to prove that humans were more than the aliens believed. Admiral Yoon Tae-sung was the oldest officer in the room. He had served in 3 wars. He had lost his wife and his son to the fighting. He had more reason than anyone to hate the universe. He stood up. The room went quiet. "They think we are animals," he said. His voice was rough from age, but still strong. They think we know nothing but violence. If we stay here, we prove them right. If we go, we prove them wrong. It is that simple. The vote passed. Humanity would answer the call. 3 weeks later, Do-Hyun stood at the window of Luna Station and watched the fleet gather. 12 battle cruisers, 47 destroyers, 200 support ships. It was the largest force Earth had ever built. Yuna stood beside him. She had volunteered for the mission. So had 10,000 others. Are you afraid? She asked. Do-Hyun watched the ships move into formation. Lights blinked against the darkness. Engines glowed like small suns. Yes, he said. But I was afraid during the wars too. I learned that fear does not matter. What matters is what you do with it. Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "My mother thinks I'm crazy. She says we're going to die out there for people who don't even like us. She might be right. I know. But I keep thinking about all those aliens out there. They're scared. They're dying. And we're the only ones who can help." She paused. That has to mean something. Do-Hyun thought about Soman again. He had said goodbye to her that morning. She had cried. He had promised to come back. He did not know if he could keep that promise, but he knew why he was going. He was going because someone had asked for help. And no matter what the galaxy thought of humanity, that was something humans understood. The fleet launched the next day. The ships disappeared into the darkness between stars. Behind them, Earth kept turning, waiting, hoping the Deathworlders had answered. The journey took 16 months. Commander Lee Ji spent most of that time studying. She read every file about the Galactic Council. She memorized the names of species she had never seen. She learned about worlds that existed only in old reports and stolen data. Ji was 38 years old. She had been born on a colony ship during the Great Migration, when millions of humans had fled Earth's dying continents for stations in orbit. She had never felt grass under her feet. She had never breathed air that did not come from a machine. Space was all she knew. The flagship was called Horizon's Edge. It was the largest ship humanity had ever built. 2,000 crew members lived inside its metal walls. They ate together. They trained together. They wondered together what waited for them at the end of the journey. Chief Medical Officer Baek Soo-ho came to Jihee's office one evening. He was a quiet man with gentle hands and sad eyes. He had been a doctor during the resource wars. He had seen too much death to ever forget it. "I've been studying the biological data," he said. "The council species. Their bodies. And?" Soo-ho sat down across from her. He looked tired. Everyone looked tired these days. "They're fragile," he said. "Their bones are hollow like birds. Their immune systems have never faced real disease. A simple cold could kill them." He paused. "They evolved on peaceful worlds. Worlds without predators. Without natural disasters. Without any of the things that made us strong." Ji thought about this. "So they're afraid of us. Terrified. To them, we're monsters from a nightmare planet. We survive things that would destroy them. We heal from injuries they cannot imagine. We keep fighting when every logical species would surrender." Soo-ho shook his head. "They don't understand us. They never have." The fleet dropped out of hyperspace. On a cold morning in March, or what would have been March on Earth, time worked differently between the stars. Ji stood on the bridge and looked at the view screen. She had expected to see cities, ships, signs of a great civilization. Instead, she saw ruins. Debris floated everywhere. The broken pieces of ships and stations drifted through the darkness. Some of the pieces were still burning. Some of them were bodies. "My God," someone whispered behind her. Ji did not speak. She could not find words. They moved through 3 star systems. Each one was the same: destruction, death, silence. The Veth had come through here like a fire through dry grass. They had left nothing behind. On the fourth day, they found survivors. The ship was small and damaged. It drifted without power near a dead planet. Sensors showed life signs inside. Weak, but present, GA sent a rescue team. They brought back 37 aliens and one ambassador. Her name was Talia. She was Irani, one of the founding species of the Galactic Council. She was tall and thin, with skin so pale it was almost clear. Blue blood moved beneath her flesh like rivers under ice. Her eyes were covered with thin membranes that made her look like she was always crying. They brought her to the medical bay. Suho checked her injuries. She had broken bones and burns and wounds that should have killed her. But she was alive. When she woke up, she looked at the human faces around her. Her membrane-covered eyes went wide. "You came," she whispered. Her voice was soft and strange, like wind through empty halls. "You actually came." GA stepped forward. "I'm Commander Lee GA of the United Earth Fleet. We received your message." Talia tried to sit up. Her body shook with the effort. "We did not believe you would answer. The Council said humans could not be trusted. They said you would use the war as a chance to attack us. And what do you think?" Talia looked at her for a long moment. She looked at Suho, who was bandaging her arm. She looked at the young medics who were caring for the other survivors. She saw the gentleness in their hands, the worry in their eyes. "I think the Council was wrong about many things," she said. Over the next few weeks, Talia told them everything. She told them about the Veth. They were a species from beyond the mapped regions of space. They had never known competition. They had never faced predators. They had evolved alone on a world without challenges, and because they had never known struggle, they did not understand mercy. "They conquer because they can," Talia explained. "They destroy because it is easy. They have never met a species that could stop them. Until now." GA listened. She planned. She looked at the star maps and calculated distances and thought about everything she knew about war. War was not new to humanity. Humans had been fighting each other since the first tribes gathered around the first fires. They had learned hard lessons about victory and defeat. They had paid for that knowledge in blood. Now they would use it. GA called a meeting of all ship commanders. They gathered in the main conference room of the Horizon's Edge. 50 officers from 50 ships. They waited for her to speak. "The Veth think we're primitives," she said. "They think we're savages from a death world. They think we'll be easy to break." She looked at each face in the room. "We're going to show them what savages can do." No one smiled. No one cheered. They simply nodded. They understood. The fleet moved toward the Kestrel Nebula, toward the enemy, toward the war that would change everything. Behind them, the survivors watched from the refugee ships. Talia stood at a window, looking at the human vessels as they disappeared into the distance. "What are they?" one of the other survivors asked. Talia did not answer for a long time. She thought about the gentle hands of the doctors, the determination in Commander Jihee's eyes, the way humans seem to carry both violence and compassion in equal measure. "I don't know," she finally said, "but I think we're about to find out." The Veth fleet waited in the heart of the Kestrel Nebula. 3,000 ships hung in the purple clouds of gas and dust. They were beautiful in a terrible way. Black and smooth, shaped like blades, they moved together like a single creature. When one turned, they all turned. When one stopped, they all stopped. Overlord Marath watched from his command ship. He was old by Veth standards, nearly 400 years. He had conquered 9 civilizations in his lifetime. He had never lost a battle. A junior officer approached his throne. The young Veth kept his eyes low, as protocol demanded. Overlord, unknown ships have entered the nebula. 53 vessels. Origin unknown. Marith waved a hand. Show me. The screen changed. He saw the human fleet for the first time. The ships were ugly, rough. They looked like they had been built by children. They moved without coordination, each one going its own direction. What species? Marith asked. Council archives identify them as humans. From the quarantine world called Earth. Earth. Marith remembered the name. A death planet. A world so violent that the Council had locked it away. He had read reports about humans once. They killed each other constantly. They carried diseases in their blood. They lived short, brutal lives. Threat assessment? He asked. Minimal. Overlord. Their technology is primitive. Their numbers are small. They pose no significant danger. Marith smiled. It was not a kind smile. Then this will be quick. All ships forward. Destroy them. The Veth fleet moved as one. Captain Han HFY stood on the bridge of the Silent Thunder. She was 29 years old. She had graduated first in her class at the Naval Academy. She had trained for war her entire adult life, but she had never actually fought one. Her hands shook as she watched the enemy approach. So many ships. So many enemies. The screen filled with black shapes until she could not count them anymore. Captain? Weapons Officer Shin Minho looked at her. He was waiting for orders. They were all waiting. HFY took a breath. She thought about her family back on Earth. Her mother. Her little brother. She thought about all the people who were counting on her. Hold position, she said. Her voice did not shake. She was proud of that. Commander Jihee's voice came through the fleet channel. It was calm and clear and strong. All ships, this is Horizon's Edge. Remember what we talked about. They've never fought anyone like us. They don't know what we can do. Today, we teach them. A pause. Then, weapons free. The battle began. HFY had studied Veth tactics during the long journey. They fought in perfect formation. They relied on overwhelming numbers and coordinated attacks. They expected their enemies to do the same. Humans did not fight that way. The human fleet scattered. Ships went in every direction. They broke formation and attacked from angles the Veth had never seen. They moved individually, unpredictably, chaotically. The Veth did not know how to respond. HFY pushed the Silent Thunder forward. Plasma fire exploded around her ship. Alarms screamed. Crew members shouted. Target the lead ship, she ordered. Full power to forward weapons. The Silent Thunder fired. Blue light crossed the darkness and hit the Veth cruiser in its center. The enemy ship cracked. Flames poured from the wound, but more ships came. Always more ships. A blast hit the Silent Thunder from behind. The ship shuddered. Metal screamed. Half the lights went dark. Hull breach on decks 7 through 12. Someone yelled. We're losing atmosphere. HFY looked at the damage reports. Her ship was dying. Half the crew was wounded or dead. Logic said to retreat. Logic said to run. Full thrust forward, she said. Minho stared at her. Captain? I said forward. Aim for that cruiser. Ram them. For a moment, no one moved. Then Minho nodded. His hands moved across the console. The Silent Thunder charged at the Veth cruiser. The enemy ship tried to turn. It was too slow. The collision was terrible. Metal met metal. Both ships shattered. The Silent Thunder broke apart like a toy. But HFY survived. So did half her crew. The escape pods launched just before impact. They floated in the debris, waiting for rescue. The Veth cruiser was not so lucky. It exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the nebula. Across the battlefield, The same scene played out again and again. Human ships took damage that should have destroyed them. Human crews kept fighting after sustaining losses that would have broken any council species. When one ship fell, another took its place, and the humans would not stop. Overlord Marath watched the battle turn. His fleet, his perfect fleet, was losing. He could not understand it. "They're damaged," he said to his officers. "They're dying. Why don't they retreat?" No one had an answer. The breaking point came 3 hours into the battle. A human destroyer crashed into Marath's flagship, nearly taking the bridge. At the same moment, Commander Jihi's Horizon's Edge broke through the Veth formation and began destroying support. Ships.Mareth gave the order he had never given before. Retreat. All ships retreat. The Veth fleet fled. Jiwoo floated in her escape pod and watched the enemy run. She was bleeding from a cut on her head. Her arm was broken. Her ship was gone, but they had won. Her communicator crackled. It was Commander Ga. Captain Han. Status report. Jiwoo laughed. It hurt to laugh. Ship destroyed. Crew mostly alive. Enemy defeated. She paused. "I think we made our point." Silence. Then Jahi's voice came back, and for the first time, it sounded almost warm. "You did well. All of you did well. Rest now. This war is just beginning." In the ruins of his command ship, Overlord Marath sent a message to the Veth homeworld. His hands trembled as he typed. "Send everything. Send every ship we have. These humans are not what we expected." He paused. "They're something else entirely." The message traveled across the stars. The real war was about to begin. 2 years passed. The war spread across 17 star systems. Battles raged on planets and in space. Ships burned. Cities fell. Millions died on both sides. But humanity did not break. Sergeant Cha Donghae had been a farmer before the war. He had grown rice in the mountains of Korea. He had known peace and quiet and the simple joy of watching things grow. Now he carried a rifle and led 30 soldiers across. Burning world. The planet was called Vespra. It was an agricultural world, once green and beautiful. The Veth had occupied it 6 months ago. They had enslaved the local population. They had poisoned the rivers and burned the forests. Donghae's mission was simple. Take back the capital. Free the prisoners. Hold the ground until reinforcements arrived. Simple, not easy. 300 Veth soldiers defended the city. Donghae had 30 humans and a handful of local resistance fighters. "Sergeant," one of his soldiers said, "the odds are 10 to 1 against us." Donghae checked his rifle. "I know. What's the plan?" He looked at the young soldier. She was maybe 20 years old. Scared but trying not to show it. "We fight," Donghae said. "We keep fighting until we win or until we can't fight anymore. That's always the plan." They attacked at dawn. The battle lasted 9 hours. Donghae lost track of time. He lost track of everything except the next target, the next corner, the next breath. His soldiers fell around him. The enemy fell too. A Veth blade took his left arm. The pain was beyond words. Hot and cold at the same time. Darkness at the edges of his vision. He switched his rifle to his right hand. He kept fighting. The Veth did not understand. They watched this human, bleeding and broken, and they could not believe what they saw. By every rule they knew, he should have stopped. He should have surrendered. He should have died. Instead, he kept coming down. By the end of the battle, the city was free. 200 Veth soldiers were dead. The rest had fled. Donghae's platoon had been reduced to 11 survivors. The local aliens, small creatures with gray skin and large eyes, came out of hiding. They looked at the humans with a mixture of fear and wonder. One of them approached Donghae. It spoke slowly, carefully. Why? It asked, why did you fight for us? We are not your people. Donghae sat down against a broken wall. His missing arm throbbed. His body felt like it was made of stone. Because someone had to, he said. And we were here. The alien did not seem to understand. But it brought him water. And bandages. And something that might have been food. Small kindnesses. In a war, they meant everything. Back on Earth. The world had changed. Factories ran day and night. Every city, every town, every village contributed to the war effort. Ships were built faster than anyone thought possible. Volunteers filled the recruitment centers until there was no more room. President Cho Yun-bi stood before the United Earth Council. She was older now, grayer. The weight of 2 years showed in every line of her face. They called us Deathworlders, she said. They meant it as an insult. They meant we were too dangerous, too savage, too broken to join their civilization. She paused. The room was silent. Let us show them what Deathworlders really are. We are survivors. We are fighters. And we do not abandon those who need us. The council voted to continue the war. It was unanimous. In council space, something unexpected was happening. Ambassador Talia had become Commander Jihee's closest advisor. The Irani and the human worked together every day. They planned battles. They negotiated with other species. They tried to hold together an alliance that had been broken for centuries. One night, Talia asked Jie a question that had been bothering her for months. You fight each other, she said. Your history is full of wars. Brother against brother. Nation against nation. How do you still exist? Jie thought about the question. They were sitting in her office, looking out at the stars. A cup of tea sat cooling between them. We've always fought, she admitted. We've done terrible things to each other. But we've also always found ways to come together. When something bigger threatens us, we stop fighting each other. We face it together. But why? What makes you cooperate? Jie smiled. It was a sad smile. Because we know what it's like to be alone. We know what it's like to face the darkness without help. And we decided, somewhere along the way, that we wouldn't let others feel that way if we could help it. Talia did not fully understand. But she was starting to. The turning point came at Morrow Station. It was a massive space station at the edge of Council territory. The last stronghold before the core worlds. If it fell, the war was over. The Veth sent their largest fleet. Every ship they had left. The final push. The human and council fleet met them there. Lieutenant Kang Yuna commanded the destroyer, Lightning's Edge. She was no longer the young officer who had decoded the first message. 2 years of war had changed her. Made her harder. Made her stronger. The battle was chaos. Ships exploded everywhere. Fire and metal and death. Yuna saw the weakness. A gap in the Veth formation. A chance. All ships follow me, she ordered. We're going through. Her squadron broke formation. They drove straight into the gap. The Veth tried to close the hole, but they were too slow. Yuna's ships hit the enemy command vessels from behind. The Veth formation collapsed. Overlord Marath died in the battle. His ship, the last of the great cruisers, exploded under combined fire from human and council forces. His final words were recorded for history. They should not exist. Nothing should survive that world. But humanity had survived, and they had won. The Veth fleet scattered. Some ships surrendered. Some fled into deep space. Some fought to the death. The Battle of Morrow Station was over. The war was not finished, but the tide had turned. Yuna sat in her command chair and looked at the wreckage. Her hands were still shaking. Her crew was crying, laughing, holding each other. She thought about the message that had started everything. The SOS from a dying civilization. They had answered. And they had made a difference. The war ended slowly, like a fire running out of fuel. After Morrow Station, the Veth Dominion began to fall apart. Their subject species, who had lived under their control for centuries, saw what humans had done. They saw that the Veth could be beaten. They started their own rebellions. Within a year, the Dominion was gone, scattered, broken. The greatest threat the galaxy had ever faced disappeared like smoke in the wind. The Treaty of Arani Prime was signed on a cool morning in what humans called spring. The ceremony took place in a great hall made of crystal and light. Representatives from 100 species gathered to watch. Ambassador Talia spoke for the Galactic Council. Her voice carried across the hall. For too long, we watched Earth from a distance. We feared what lived there. We told ourselves that humans were dangerous, that they could never be trusted, that they were better kept apart. She paused. Her membrane-covered eyes moved across the crowd. We were wrong. When our worlds burned, humans came. When our people died, humans fought for them. When all hope was lost, humans refused to give up. She turned to the human delegation. The quarantine is over. Earth is no longer a prison. Humanity is invited to join the Galactic Council, not as guests, not as junior members, but as equals. Admiral Yoon Taeson stood to sign the treaty. It was the same old officer who had cast the deciding vote 3 years ago. His hands shook as he lifted the pen. We accept, he said simply. There was nothing else to say. The hall erupted in sound. Some species cheered. Others sang. Some simply stood in silence, still trying to understand what had happened. The galaxy had changed. Nothing would ever be the same. Captain Park Do-yoon came home on a transport ship crowded with soldiers. They had been gone for 3 years. Some of them barely remembered what Earth looked like. The ship landed at the Seoul spaceport. Thousands of people waited behind the barriers. Families, friends, strangers, who just wanted to see the heroes who had saved the galaxy. Do-hyun walked down the ramp. His uniform was worn. His face was tired. He had seen things he would never forget. His daughter was waiting. Selman was 15 now. She was taller than he remembered. Her face was older. The child he had left behind had become a young woman. She ran to him. He caught her in his arms. Neither of them spoke. There were no words big enough. Later, they sat together in the apartment where Soman had grown up. The same small rooms. The same view of the city. Everything the same and everything different. They're scared of us, Selman said. She had been watching the news. Reports from across the galaxy. The council species. I can see it in their faces. They're scared. Dawn nodded. He had seen it too. The way aliens looked at humans now. The respect mixed with fear. The admiration mixed with uncertainty. They should be scared, he said. We're the most dangerous species in the galaxy. We proved that. Soman looked at him. Then why did they ask us for help? It was a good question. The same question Do-hyun had asked himself 1,000 times. Because they hoped, he said slowly, that we might also be the most compassionate. Commander Ga did not return to Earth. She stayed in council space. Appointed as humanity's first ambassador to the Galactic Assembly, there was too much work to do. Too many bridges to build. She and Talia stood together on the observation deck of the diplomatic station. Ships from 100 worlds moved through the darkness below. A constant flow of life and trade and hope. You could conquer us, Talia said quietly. Your species. With your strength. Your determination. Your ability to survive anything. You could become what the Veth were. You could rule the galaxy. Ga did not deny it. She had thought about it. She knew the truth. We could, she agreed. But we won't. How can you be sure? Gia watched the ships pass. She thought about her home, about Earth, about all the terrible and beautiful things humanity had done. Because we remember, she said. We remember what it was like to be alone, to look at the stars and wonder if anyone else was out there, to feel small and lost and afraid. She turned to face Talia. We're not going to make anyone else feel that way. Not if we can help it. Talia studied her face for a long moment. The Irani had learned a lot about humans in 3 years. She had seen their violence, their stubbornness, their refusal to give up, even when all logic said they should. But she had also seen their kindness, their sacrifice, their capacity for love even in the darkest times. I believe you, she said, and she did. The galaxy entered a new era. Human doctors traveled to distant worlds, curing diseases that local medicine could not touch. Human engineers built stations that could withstand environments once thought impossible. Human peacekeepers stood between species that had been enemies for millennia, and everywhere a story spread. The story of the Death Planet, the quarantined world, the place where the most dangerous species in the galaxy had evolved. The Deathworlders had emerged from the shadows. They had answered when no one else would. They had proven that strength and compassion could exist in the same heart. On Earth, in a classroom in Bizan, a teacher asked her students what they wanted to be when they grew up. A boy named Go Hyunwoo, 7 years old, raised his hand. He had been born after the war started. He had never known a galaxy where humans were locked away. I want to go to space, he said. I want to help people. The teacher smiled. She had heard that answer a lot lately, from children across the world. Children who looked at the stars and saw not darkness, but possibility. Then you'll fit right in, she said. Outside the window, the sky was blue and clear. Somewhere up there, beyond the atmosphere, beyond the moon, humanity was building its future. The Deathworlders had found their place among the stars, and they were just getting started.